Yahushua's not mucking around anymore. He wants his bride ready, and he wants his bride prepared in a wilderness, waiting, finished, matured state. That's what's going on in his true bride right now. This is the next step that his bride needs to take. He's brought her out of the world. He's put his spirit in her. She faces that Yahushua is Elohim. She's been through a baptism of spirit to receive his spirit, a down payment of his spirit. She knows that he is the narrow gate, and she's practicing this. But if she does not go through the fire, if she does not get cleansed, if she doesn't get changed, you have to become a different person. Whatever you think you might like about yourself, whatever you might think is already acceptable about yourself has to die. Your opinions, your rights, your attitudes, your personality, all of it has to die. You have to become a different person. And if you kick and scream and try and keep things for yourself, hide little bits and pieces of attitudes and sins under your tent, try and have all these behaviors that you want to get away with, it's going to burn up in you. And who's in control of the cauldron, you or Yahushua? I mean, you can walk away completely. Jonah tried to do that. How'd that go for him? You want to end up on a beach, having been swallowed by a whale, big fish, and he still had to go and do what he was told to do. We are told to burn it up. We are told to allow the cleansing, to purify our hearts, to become different people. We have to become a new creation. We are the new temple. You saw what happened to the old temple, what it all had to go through to get the spirit of the Creator in there. Well, Yahushua's spirit wants to indwell these living vessels that he's paid such a high price for. His blood. He paid the price with his blood. We don't own ourselves. So if you're going through all these changes, if you're going through these things that you just can't feel peace, you can't get away with anything anymore, you can't look sideways, you can't think anything, you can't do anything without him jabbing you, poking you, burning you, bashing you, flogging you. That's normal. It doesn't seem normal because nobody will talk about it. Nobody will be genuine about it. I'm telling you the truth. This is what I've been going through. It's not about knowledge anymore. Put your damn scriptures down. Stop talking about the scripture all the time. Put them down. Put them away. Yahushua knows that you know what his word says. He's put his spirit in you now to bring to life everything that he said in his word. But if you just want to go around quoting it, just want to go around, talking about the Hebrew language just because that's what it was written in back then, if you just want to go around, looking at charts and graphs and looking at timelines and trying to be all high and mighty and complicated and talking about knowledge, what does Paul say about knowledge? It's going to decrease. It's going to be inactive. Tongues, knowledge, prophecy, all those things will be inactive. All the things that we've filled ourselves with will be gone. Even the gifts that he's given us to proclaim his word through will be gone and not useful when everybody knows him, those he's chosen. Love. The greatest thing we can do is to love. Yeah, it's everybody's been throwing that word around. Fantastic. But can they actually do it? Can they actually look into people's eyes, take their noses out of their scriptures, take their noses out of trying to learn and be diligent and show thyself approved through thy study? Who's it all about? Who's it all about? You. Try looking into somebody else's eyes. Try turning around and loving your wife or loving your husband, loving your children, letting the love of Yahushua flow through them. But that's not going to happen, of course, if we are still active. Ourself, the flesh, the spirit that controls our flesh, if it's still active and controlling us, as it has our whole life. There's no power out there. There's no truth out there. Those peddling the name Yahushua, they don't have the truth. They're not willing to die to themselves. They don't have the baptism of his spirit. They don't have the baptism of his fire. Because if they did, they'd be telling you that this process you're going through is normal. This process, this agony, everything you try, everything you partake of, everything you say, everything you do comes to naught. You have to kill it. You have to become a new person, a different person. Are you willing to do that? I wasn't. I loved my knowledge. Loved everything I'd filled myself with. Didn't like how it made me feel, though. So Yahushua's showing us, if you want me, this is where I'm going. You've got to go through the fire. And the spirit that controls our flesh does not like the fire, does not like it, refuses to have the fire. But this is the only way to get into the wilderness. And the bride in the wilderness is yelling back at the door saying, come on in, come on through, you can do it, you can do it. Don't worry about what they're all saying, about what they're all proclaiming. They're all trying to trip you over, throwing Hebrew words at you, throwing charts at you, throwing knowledge at you all the time to try and make you feel like nothing. Let me tell you something. Yahushua never made anybody feel like nothing. He never made anybody feel down, depressed. Under him, he never made anybody feel like that. He was always lifting everybody up, lifting them up. He didn't come along, and try and beat the Pharisees. He didn't come and, try and take their knowledge and make it better and confuse the crowds. The Pharisees said this, but I'm saying that you should do this and it's more confusing. No, he didn't get them to pull out their lexicons and their study tablets and try and, he wasn't teaching them to study, was he? He was actually simplifying everything because they'd made such a balls up of everything. They'd taken his word and overcomplicated the overcomplicatedness. And so he was coming along to simplify it back to the pure word that was once spoken on the mountain, on the altar, in the temple, in the tabernacle. The pure word that was spoken by the Creator was lost. The Jews went, the Hebrews went, they just went and did what they wanted with it, turned it into a religion. It's still alive today, all those people. It's still going on, the Yahuwah only. The Christianity, the Nazarene, the Messianics, they're all pumping, lifting themselves up on what? What's their basis to lift themselves up on? His word? Because they don't know it. Oh, they can read it. Well, congratulations, you can read. The whole world can read it, but it's hidden. The message is hidden because you haven't become spiritual. There's only one way to become spiritual, through the narrow gate, which is Yahushua Elohim's own new creation, new covenant body. That's what he did. He did everything new. He took everything that was old, just like himself was old. He was creator, father, seated on throne. He took everything that he was, including his word, mixed it all up, and brought something new out of it. Didn't abolish it. He just brought it to life, because back there it was dead. Not when it came out of his mouth it wasn't dead, but what the people did with it was dead. So he took it, rehashed it again, took all the elements of it and turned it into behavior. So nothing old is wrong. Nothing old is, abolished or anything. But it's got to be made alive in new living temples, because that was all for old temples. Old sacrifices, old blood, old animals, old system, sacrificial system, old patterns, old shadows. We're new temples. And the most important thing is that it's new blood. So say whatever you like about any of it, but Yahushua's blood makes everything new. That changes the whole game. Yahushua's blood, it's got the power to actually do everything that back there only shadowed. His blood actually has the power to change a living person into someone else. Bring them to their death, but to shatter all the things that have held them down. The demons and the spirit in their flesh. He's got the power to crack all that off them, put them in a cocoon situation and bring forth life, a new creation, because that's what he did, and we're to follow him. So I wanted to share this with you because this is the next step. This is where the bride's going. And I believe it's probably the last chance you've got. There's only a couple of years left. Look at the world, look at the politics, look at the news, look at the wars, rumors of wars, even the natural disasters. Look at them all. It's all been told before. It's all in Revelation. It's all in the scriptures. There's not much time left. The bride is just like John the Baptist was in the wilderness, making way. A voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight his path, because it's been so it's been wrecked. The path has been bastardized. The bride is now in the wilderness shouting out, make straight his path, prepare the way for Yahushua. That's our only calling now. That's our only task, to bloom where we're planted, to get this message out, this mandate, this global commission, get it out there locally and globally. Locally, wherever you find yourselves, butcher, baker, supermarket, doctor, dentist, wherever you are, be a shining light, be that example, be the definition of love, which is to die to yourself. Stop talking about yourself all the time. That's a hard one I'm taking on now, to not focus your conversation on yourself all the time, because then more power comes through, because Yahusha doesn't want to dwell in ourself, us making it all about ourself, focusing on ourself. If we don't focus on ourselves but on the other people that are around us, watch what Yahusha can do. And then of course globally, we've got these little things called smartphones and tablets and video cameras and all sorts of things. Get in there and start sharing this with the world, because it's the only thing we're called to do now, to share our experience, to be a witness of the fact that Yahusha is alive, Yahusha is Elohim, Yahusha is the narrow gate. The only way you'll find that narrow gate is to become spiritual. You can't become spiritual through any avenue on this earth, only through his spirit. You need to be receiving his spirit, a baptism of spirit. He will come inside you and sup with you. He knocks on the door, you let him in, he will come in and sup with you. He will start changing things. The process will start. Then his fire will come on you, and it hurts. Things you thought you could get away with before, you cannot anymore. And it's no one else around you's fault. They might be playing their own parts in it, but you've got to look at yourself. Look at yourself and change. When it burns, when it hurts, everything good that happens in your day is Yahusha. I hope you face that. Everything bad that happens in your day, don't go blaming demons. That's Yahusha too. Getting your attention. Getting your attention. Do you face that? Or are you too self-righteous for that? Oh no, it's demons because I'm right. No, Yahusha's in everything, showing his bride that she needs to die. She needs to filtrate into the wilderness experience, a supernatural place of waiting and serving him. So I want to encourage you, brothers and sisters, don't listen to all the preachers, teachers, pastors, rabbis. It's old. It's so old. It's so yesterday. Everything they're talking about, all the scriptures they're quoting and throwing at each other and arguing and taking people back to the old stuff. Go new. Go, who wants the old stuff? The old stuff's been transformed into new behavior. So go for the new behavior. But you can't have the new behavior if you're still alive in your flesh, having it your way. Yahusha won't have that. You can't walk with one foot in the world and one foot in the truth. You can't do that. He wants you completely, wholly, solely sold over. That's what the fire is for. And you know when you're feeling fire, you know it. So be honest with yourself. Know yourself. Check every single thought that comes in. Because if you let in a rogue thought and you start behaving it, it's going to burn. It could be rogue thoughts about yourself, your wife, your husband, your children, your clients, anybody in your day. You can start having, even in the traffic. That's a big one for me. In the traffic, you can start feeling this hatred come up in you because of the way people drive. Does the fire come on them or does it come on me? It comes on me, because judgment starts in the house of Elohim. Judgment starts right here in the bride. Because if we don't get judged by fire now, we're going to get judged by fire at the end. And some people think, oh, they've got a second chance when Yahusha comes back, and those who don't quite make it, there's a second resurrection, and we get to live for 1,000 years and we'll be under his reign, and all this messianic rubbish that they go on with. That's not true. We need to be perfected and matured before Yahusha arrives, because when he arrives, everything that is not perfected with his spirit and fire that's gone through that process of spirit and fire, everything's going to be frackled up. It's defiled. It's sinful. Just like when the flood, he's going to destroy all of it. This time it's going to be by fire, and it's not going to be fire from the sun. It's not going to be solar flares. It will be his power, the perfection, the spiritual set apart radiation that he is will just frackle this whole planet. Not just that, the whole dimension, the planets, the sun, everything will melt with intense heat. That's heat from him. The sun doesn't have the power to melt all the planets. Sorry. He does. So you don't have a second chance. He's calling now. The bride is calling you now. Repent. Be immersed in his spirit. Be baptized in his spirit and fire. Go now. It's time. The urgency. It's time to leave everything you thought you were and run to his love. Run to becoming in his love. Loving others. Loving under the two royal laws of his love. Loving Elohim with all your heart, mind, body and strength, and loving your neighbor more than yourself. Love your wife, love your husband, love your children more than yourself. But you can't do that if you're not dead to yourself. Yahushua was dead to himself. Then he died for everybody. We need to become deadened. Dead. Can't get any more dead than dead, so that something new, like the seed, goes in the ground, it dies, it brings forth new life in the form of a plant. We need to be dead. So I want to encourage you, brothers and sisters, if you're going through just a hideous, horrible time, it's time to realize that's the process. Doesn't matter what knowledge you filled yourself with, all that knowledge has to die, because Yahushua wants to come in now and bring it to life. So that's enough for today, brothers and sisters. We're back tomorrow. We're going to get into some more studies on the website. I've been going through this process. I can't get away with anything. Things I've thought, acted, looked at, studied, everything. I can't get away with anything. The last 2 videos about the website, I was too angry. Yahushua is on every single thing we do. You can't get away with anything. He doesn't want me angry. He doesn't want me judging people. He doesn't want these videos to be, running people down. Because then it's not about that. It's about encouraging you to keep going. Let go of everybody that's held you back. Let go of all their teachings. Let go of all their influence and run. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel wrong. Yahushua's forgiving you. He's making you clean. So if people want to hold your past over you, if you want to hold your behavior over you, just smile. Just, yeah, that's what I was like. Sorry. And let them have it. Let it stay with them and move on. Go into the greener pastures. Love you very much, brothers and sisters. And I'll be back very shortly. This is the next step that Yahushua's bride is taking. Going into the real love. Going into the wilderness waiting where we just want to love. Starting to rain. I've got to go. Bye.
If you don't believe Yahushua is Elohim, you don't have deliverance. If you don't believe Yahushua is Elohim, you don't have deliverance. If you don't believe Yahushua is Elohim, you don't have deliverance. Oh no. If you don't believe Yahushua is Elohim, you don't have deliverance. 'Cause he's a way, he's a truth, he's a new creation life. He's a narrow gate to the wilderness, through the spirit and the fire. If you're not baptized in his spirit, you don't have deliverance. If you're not baptized in his spirit, you don't have deliverance. 'Cause he's a way, he's the truth, he's the new creation life. He's the narrow gate to the wilderness, through the spirit and the fire. If you don't jump into the cauldron, you don't have deliverance. Oh no. If you don't burn up in the cauldron, you don't have deliverance. If you don't burn up in the cauldron, you don't have deliverance. Oh no. If you don't burn up in the cauldron, you don't have deliverance. He's the way, he's the truth, he's the new creation life. He's the narrow gate to the wilderness, through the spirit and the fire. He's the narrow gate to the wilderness, through the spirit and the fire. He's the only way to peace and joyous love divine, moving through his spirit vein to transform us through fire. Only through repentance in Yahushua Elohim can we be connected to his reign and be made new. If you're not in loving behavior, you don't have deliverance. If you're not in loving behavior, you don't have deliverance. No matter what you know, if you're not in loving behavior, you don't have deliverance. No. If you're not in loving deliverance. 'Cause His ways are true. He's the new creation life. He's the narrow gate to the wilderness, through spirit and the fire. 'Cause He's the way, He's the truth, He's the new creation life. He's the narrow gate to the wilderness, through spirit and the fire. If you don't believe Yahusha is Elohim, you don't have deliverance. That's right. If you don't believe Yahusha is Elohim, you don't have deliverance. If you don't believe Yahusha is Elohim, you don't have deliverance. If you don't believe Yahusha is Elohim, you don't have deliverance.